what's up, Warp community? Welcome to Warp News. This is Rich Spooler, bringing you more of the best in fact-based, optimistic news from around the world. And today I've got a very special video for you. I just received in the mail Starlink satellite internet. And today I'm going to be doing an unboxing. I'm going to be setting it up in my house and running some speed tests, seeing how it does compared to the internet I have today. And hopefully we see some really big improvements. So make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Warp Institute channel here on YouTube, and if you haven't, check us out at warpnews.org. At Warp News, our mission is to balance the negative bias in mainstream media by bringing you fact-based, optimistic news from around the world. You can also check out my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you like listening to your podcasts. Every week I come out with a new episode focusing on the possibilities with ideas and collaborations in fact-based optimism from around the world. So coming up now on Warp News, Starlink Satellite Internet. So the first thing I wanted to do with you today, before we start anything, is to show you what I'm currently working with. This is my AT&T Wi-Fi. 10, 11, 12. That's as much as I pay for, is 12. And it dips back down usually. That's about my average. Anywhere from 8 to 12, again, depending on the device that I'm using. So pretty bad. Really slow, hard to do just about anything with internet speed this slow. So hopefully Starlink is going to exceed this many times over. So as you can see, the box that I showed you a few seconds ago in the intro is a pretty tiny box, nowhere near the size of the box that the actual Starlink satellite dish comes in. And as you can see, all I did was pop the top. I haven't even opened the box yet. So we are going to do that together right now and take a look at what's inside. All right, so here we go. And a large box, looking pretty cool. Quick little 1, 2, 3 step instruction sheet on top. And a plastic frame. Okay. And there she is. All right, so you have your base mount, which I'm not going to install this part today, and I'll show you why in a few minutes here. Of course, we've got the Cybertruck styled router with the white cable that plugs into the satellite dish, and there is an aux port that I will be using later. I'll show you that again as well. And it is already plugged in to the power brick. And the dark gray cable, I have read that they give you 100 feet of this. This is the cable that plugs directly into the satellite. And of course, you've got your power cable on the other side. And the beautiful Starlink. And this is the heavy part, dish. So we'll just set that over there. So yeah, they say it's about the size of a pizza box, the dish itself. It looks, it's a pretty large pizza, but yeah, about the size of a pizza box. And that's really it. You know, not a ton of intimidating parts and instruction manuals. As a matter of fact, this top white cover that we looked at a few moments ago appears to be the only instructions it comes with and the only instructions we're going to need. So we're going to get to that in a moment, but I do want to show you. You saw that I had a much smaller box here in the intro of this video, and this is called the Starlink Volcano Mount. And the reason that I bought this, and the reason I'm not going to use that, is because I'm going to be installing mine on the roof. So if we dig into this box here a little bit, let's see what we've got. Looks like we've got some instructions here. Yep, Starlink Volcano Mount. and a tool pack here. Your hardware that comes with all of the screws and brackets and clips that you'll want, and I'll show you what the clips are a little bit later on in the video, but this is where we're going to attach the cable to the outside of the house to keep everything nice and neat and not have cable, you know, dangling all over the place outside and not look too good. So nice touch that they give you that stuff. And then of course the mount itself, and this is what we will drill into the roof, and I'll go a little bit more into detail on that later on in the video. And the last thing that comes in this box is probably one of the most useful, and this is a backpack. And this backpack is what you put the dish in so that when you have to climb a ladder or climb out of a window, which I'm going to be doing shortly here on install, you don't drop your satellite dish. It's a nice backpack, slide the dish in there, sling it over your shoulder, and you'll be good to go. You can see that the satellite dish itself here is on a simple post into this attachment. So it's real easy to lift in and lift out. Now, if I were to drill this into my roof, it would be much more difficult if I go to the mountains or I go on a vacation somewhere kind of remote and I want to bring my internet with me. That's one of the features of Starlink satellite internet. So I'm going to keep this disconnected, easy to transport. I'll store it up in the attic, but when I mount to the dish, I'm going to be using the volcano mount. And as you can see, it's got some release holes right there that coincide with these tabs right here. In and out, super easy, without having to disconnect your hardware from the roof. So I did want to take an extra few minutes. I feel like I rushed a little bit through the volcano mount when I was doing the unboxing earlier, because this is probably the most critical part if you're going to be using the volcano mount, is proper installation onto your roof. So take a closer look at the instruction manual here. You can see some basic tools. I think this is the most important one. Definitely get yourself a stud finder when you're up on the roof. You do not want to be drilling into your roof in a way that's going to put holes in your ceiling. Even if it's unused attic space, water leaks and roofs are not friends. So what we've got here is the instruction manual. We've got some lag bolts, two different sizes, two different lengths rather, that they give you. They do give you some sealing tape just to prevent any leakage after you drill the holes. Even with drilling into a stud, we'll definitely still use some seal tape. And this entire box that I quickly glanced at earlier is actually all cable clips. So they give you more than enough. It looks like there's probably at least 50 or so in here. So let's take a look at this instructions real quick. And you can see here, they say find a spot, XX, check. Those are our instructions that we're talking about. If you live in a big city, maybe in an apartment building, in a high rise or a tall building, Starlink might not be for you. Hopefully if that's your situation, you've got fiber options anyway. But also trees. In a situation like mine, when I'm, rural or semi-rural, you want to make sure that you're not pointing it where there are a bunch of trees. We are planning our cable route, which I have done. I will show you that route after I have done the install. And then they give you some nice installation instructions, some quick tips here. Find your studs, pencil, drill some pilot holes, put in your lag bolts, and good to go. And then from there, they've got a little bit more detailed instructions here. And of course the bag here that you put the Starlink satellite into. It's a large bag, plenty large enough for the dish itself. It comes with a shoulder strap, so if you're climbing a ladder or out of a window to access your roof, definitely want to make use of that. Okay, so here we are outside of my house. As you can see, I live in a pretty heavily wooded area. For those that don't know, I live in the town of Apex, North Carolina. Pretty populated, fast-growing town, but the subdivision that I live in is kind of semi-rural, only about 20 houses in our neighborhood, and it's been impossible to get fast, high-speed internet here, much less fiber. So Starlink should be the perfect solution for me. And the first thing that we want to do when setting up Starlink is choose the right location for it. As you can see here, I've got some pretty big trees around me, and we want to find the perfect spot to install this dish so that it has the clearest view of the sky. So taking a look around the house here, You can see that I've got a big tree there. I've got a really big tree here. So we want to try and avoid those and get as much clear sky as possible. And you can see that I've got 3 peaks on the roof up there. So I think what we're going to do is go for this one on the right. You can see as I walk down here a little bit, the tree lines are far away. And we have a nice, clear, open view of the sky. But to be sure, Starlink has a cool little feature in their app. And you will see in the app here that there is a check for obstructions button. So we're going to use that right now. Say check for obstructions. And the way this works is it's first going to say tilt your phone up. But the first thing we want to do is flip it so that it's looking up at us. And you can see me there now in selfie mode. But you can see as I turn my camera, you see that black horizon that's making my head go away? That is kind of like a horizon line, an obstruction line. So you use this tool on their app, which is really convenient, to tilt your phone and find a perfect spot to put your satellite dish. You want to see little to no trees. You want to see as much clear blue sky as you can, which is why, for me, I'm opting to put it up on the roof. You can see my tree line isn't terribly tall. Once the dish is up there, it should have plenty of clear blue sky to see everything it needs to see and communicate with the Starlink constellation. So I am going to put the Starlink right here. You can see I've got it set up. I don't have it mounted down yet, but it's on the same side of the house, right over my driveway. I've got the least amount of close trees on this side of the house, clearest open view of the sky. I did check it with the obstruction checker in the Starlink app, so this looks like it's going to be my spot. Okay, so it is in. You can see the seal tape that I put in. I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see that when you tighten these down all the way, it kind of smushes out and creates kind of like a bead. I probably didn't do the best job in the world, but there was also a little ball of this sealing tape stuffed into each of these screw holes, which kind of gooed out and stuffed its way down into each of these drill holes as I put it in. So I'm really confident that this is weather sealed very well. But again, I'm not a professional, which is why I put it over the front porch and not over an interior room of the house, just in case I'm wrong. But other than that, this thing is really, really solid. Won't budge, not even the tiniest bit. I did give it a pretty good pull after I had it installed and screwed in, and it's not going anywhere. So the next step is to get the dish up here and then run our cable. Okay, so it is all wired up, and you can see that I used those little clips to screw it into the siding, make the cable fairly neat, and I just have it going into the house in that plastic gable there. I just widened one of the holes and fed the wire up through, and it goes into the attic, which is where we will go next to show you where it connects to the power brick and the router. Okay, so we are all set up and hooked up, and I'm in some attic space here, and you can see over there is where I have the line coming in to the house from the dish outside. They give you a ton of cable. It is 100 feet, much more than I needed, but I will probably be moving the location of this at some point soon. But as you can see, the gray cable comes and plugs into the power brick, and then the white cable plugs into the Cybertruck router. And that aux port I mentioned towards the beginning of the video is right here. And what I have that doing is, if we come out here a little bit, I have that plugged into my Google Nest Wi-Fi. And I've got 2 other pucks throughout the house, so that just helps with the extension of the Wi-Fi signal to all areas of the house. Okay, we are all set up, and as you can see, as soon as I plugged in the power and the black and white cables into the Cybertruck router, the dish adjusted. I didn't actually see that happen because I was inside the house when I plugged everything in, but I came back out and the dish has moved. It's now just about perfectly flat on the horizon. So next we're going to go into the Starlink app and connect and see what happens. So here we are in the Starlink app, and I'm just guessing at this point, so let's figure this out together. I'm going to hit Start Setup. I have plugged everything in. Alright, I'm going to open my Wi-Fi settings. And there is Starlink 66613 connecting. Alright, and it says sign into the Starlink network, which is going to take us back to the app. And let's see, let's call this Warp News US Starlink. I'm sure that is a first. Create. Connecting. Okay, here we go. And this might take a few minutes, so we are going to come back and see what this does. Alright, and we are connected online with a good connection. One connected device, that is my Google Nest Wi-Fi that I have plugged directly into the Cybertruck router. And let's run a speed test, see how we do. First one. Go, go, go. Alright, oh. Up, down. Up, down. Okay, well, A, this is the first test. B, that's 3 times faster than I had before. Still a little lower than I thought it was going to be. Let's do one more, see if we get any better. Okay, so around the 30s, but again, this is the first test. The dish is definitely still aligning. I've read that you want to give it 15 to 30 minutes to do its first alignment before running a test, so we're going to just be patient for now, give that a little bit of time, and then come back and see how much better it is. Alright, so it's been about 30 minutes. I made sure that my Google Nest Wi-Fi was plugged in correctly to the Cybertruck router, and we're going to now run an internet test through that, because that checks the entire network, not just the single device like fast.com does. If you run fast.com on a laptop or a phone, it's just testing the connection to that specific device. So if you're far from your router, or there's walls and ceilings between your router and your device, that's definitely going to affect your speed. This test is going to check the entire network at the base, not dependent on a specific device. So let's see how this does now that Starlink is hooked up to it. And alright, that is outstanding. 195 megabits down. Yeah, about 15 times faster than I had before. 12 megabytes up. Excellent. Internet speed is blazing fast. Not a bad first day with Starlink. Alright guys, so there you have it. Starlink is set up, and it is running, and it's working great. And I really hope that all of you guys take an opportunity as soon as you can to get Starlink for yourself. If that is a need that you need filled, it's super exciting for me to go from such terrible internet to Starlink internet, literally overnight. So I do want to remind you that Starlink is still in beta. So the tests that we saw in today's video, even though for me they were outstanding at 195 megabits per second, right around 200 I've been averaging on a few tests since then, it's in beta. So the speeds are only going to go up, and Elon Musk has said that multiple times as they launch new satellites and set up new ground stations, and when it goes from beta to fully operational, I can't wait to see the speeds. They're going to be really, really crazy, and what the future holds for the satellite internet industry is very exciting. So once again, real quick, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I put some links down below for warpnews.org, my podcast, and also the Warp Space Summit coming up this autumn in Sweden. Would love to have you check that out as well if you're able, but there are links below that you can check out all the information you need on that, and we will see you next time on Warp News.